Hi there. Welcome to The Preventable, the podcast giving you a seat at the table with conversations about the intersection of alcohol, drugs, and mental health in everyday lives. Take a seat and join us.
Welcome to The Preventable. With me today is, I would say, a new friend. And I think it's new, but I think we're going to blossom this friendship. Shavanna is with me today, and she is the host of The Hood Podcast. The Hood Talks podcast. And it's where community voice comes first. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
How long have you been doing this podcast?
Since December 2020. So not even a whole year yet. And we've made so many dope milestones and accomplishments. So I'm so proud.
What got you in? I mean, had you always wanted to do this? Was there a need that you were looking to fill? Like, tell us how you got here.
Yeah, it was definitely a need that I was looking to fulfill. That tagline, where community voice comes first, is where I'm trying to fulfill. I was in a course called Neighborhood Leadership Academy in LA, and we have to come up with community projects. I had a thought to myself like, cling, let's do a community podcast.
Are you from LA originally?
No.
You just were out there?
No. Neighborhood Leadership Academy is in St. Louis. It's a program, a course that's through UMSL. UMSL. And Missouri Extension and the St. Louis Promise Zone. They come together.
Yes, with Dwayne.
Dwayne James.
Yes, I love him.
Right,
he
Dwayne
is
James.
great.
Yes.
Okay, so you have to do this project and something clicks. You get the
Something
bubble.
clicks. Yeah, because I feel like media portrays community voices in not enough of their spaces. They love to go straight to the organizations or straight to leadership or the experts, but they're never going straight to the people who's dealing with the issues or who's impacted by the things. And so I'm like, we need community voices. I want to hear from the people. So, and then I want to uplift them. And then I also want to provide them resources, and I want them to be able to go. And then, times has changed. No one's reading papers anymore. Everyone is on YouTube. Everyone is listening to or looking at videos and things like that. So no one's in paper or anything. So I'm like, we have to adjust with the times. And so I was like, community podcast, where community voices comes first and really engaging with the community. And so I started it, and I mean, it hasn't really, I don't take credit. I give credit to the community because they were coming I want to talk about this and we should be talking about this and girl, let's talk about this. So all of the shows that we've done has really been me just following up on what people were like, hey, let's talk about this.
So do people reach out and suggest topics? Because I'll be honest, we did 2 weeks ago, we asked people, what would you want to hear? Crickets. We didn't get anything. So are people really reaching out and saying, hey, I think you need to talk to this person, or why hasn't this been discussed?
I mean, people have, when the first episode launched, the second show was about, we have so many shows. It was the community, the school system is failing Black children.
Oh.
Someone reached out to me and was like, I'm a teacher. I want to really talk about this. And
yeah.
Let's uplift this. And I'm like, let's go. And from that, yes, people have really reached out and said, or I'll have a conversation with someone. They're like, oh, that's a good topic for the podcast. Put that on the podcast. And I'm like, okay, I'll go put that on the podcast. That's on my list.
And are you funded?
So not necessarily, no.
Oh.
No. We did get.
If you're listening, this could be interesting.
This could. Come help me because I am launching right now. Shout out to Flourish. I did get a grant from them, a $10,000 grant that helped us get equipment. And then I'm also paying it forward by paying community to come sit on the podcast, to uplift their stories and also ask them questions about things that's happening in their community.
So you're providing an incentive to them.
Like a siphon, yeah, in a sense, yeah.
And so you're doing this out of your home?
I'm doing it out of my home, yeah. I'm literally, I do it through Zoom right now because of COVID, and I have two little ones. Look, motherhood is real over here. I have two little ones. So.
No joke.
And we've done so many shows, and I've interviewed so many people because we also do the Hood Needs segment where we talk to organizations and not-for-profit, sometimes businesses, but I always say I'm not out here selling the people anything. I'm out here trying to get the people the things that they need. And we, interview them. So I don't want all these different people coming in and out of, my house.
Yeah. Oh, no.
Yeah.
No.
So I do it through Zoom. I'm looking to kind of advance the streaming thing and
Interesting.
Get a little bit, more.
Mm-hmm. Well, we should definitely talk afterwards. And the one thing that I want to copy off of you is your merch.
Yes.
So I am, in case you're just listening and not watching, I am wearing, and you are wearing amazing, swag. Did this just come because people are like, I wanna, or were you like?
I'm like,
this is the way we could support this.
Yeah, I have to find some way to fund this because, again, shout out to Flores, thank them. I think without that money, we wouldn't be able to make the reach because marketing is expensive. I'm sure you know that.
Indeed.
Marketing is very expensive, and I you got to reach the people some way, somehow. And Facebook is definitely making it, or social media, should I say, not specifically Facebook. I'll say social media. It's definitely making it not easy with that algorithm. So I'm like, I have to get it out there. And so this was a way to how can I bring in money? Because I don't get paid for this. This is literally me pushing out my time because I care. Because like I said, I'm really trying to fulfill a need that I think is important. So I'm not at all.
So have you always lived in this area? And did you ever think that you wanted to get... Because, yes, you host a podcast.
Right.
But I also would think, and in my brain, if I'm describing you to someone else, you're kind of a community activist.
A lot of people have put me into that position.
And I don't know if you like that label or if there's something else you use. But I'm just wondering if you've always been that driven to make change in your community, in this community?
I would say no. I have not always been this driven because I've always been in a sense of survival mode. And then I also know that I've not always been aware as much as everything that's going on. And I feel like a lot of people aren't. A lot of people just aren't aware. And we love to just throw things that people should be doing this or people should know this but some people just don't know. No one is really teaching people anymore. And so I haven't always been this I always love helping people and being how can I help someone, but not in the sense of where I am now. No, wanting to sit on boards and commissions and, being out and talking to people who was in leadership. And no, I've not been that engaged at all. But that's also why I feel like it's important to push for people to be more engaged because I know the difference of how it can be effective if you're out here engaged. So, yeah.
And you're really, I think, when I was on your podcast, we talked about how some people need to just stop talking and just listen, and how we really need to elevate the voices of people most adjacent to the joy and the pain.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And I cannot pretend to know, I'll just be honest, I can't pretend to know what it's like to be operating in survival mode. I don't know what that's like. And yet, so many people do operate that way.
Yeah.
And I need to shut up and listen.
Well, at least you understand that. That means we're winning.
It's new to me. This is a new concept, by the way.
It's a new concept, but it's also, important because you're uplifting that too. I wasn't like this, but now I am, and I see why it's so important. So, look, get on board here. That's the thing. People, sometimes they see it, but then they don't want to talk about it. That, to me, is just as worse as those who are just off into the non-land. You have to be voiceful for the people that, are being impacted. They can't be voiceful right now because they're in survival mode. And then you're not in the space to judge. No one should be judging anybody, especially if you haven't walked in their shoes. I totally agree with you on that. There's some people who are dealing with some things that I've not ever dealt with, but I listen to them and I still have empathy. And I feel like that's what we lack a lot in our communities is empathy, period. And I feel like once we get that back, then there'll be some more, ways for change, but right now it's a lot of lack of empathy and people don't want to hear from the people anymore, but that's who needs to be listening to. That's who we need to hear. We need to hear from the people, because how do you know if they're not telling, or if you don't hear? You don't know. You don't know. You don't know. You're just making assumptions, and those things are what's dividing us. Assumptions.
So where do you want to go from here? I mean, you've been doing this for less than a year.
Yeah, less than a year.
And it's been a hell of a year to launch a new endeavor. This is a very interesting time, right? Like,
Yes.
what's the next year look like for you? Are there guests you want to have on? Are there topics you want to tackle that you haven't yet? Is there? I mean, what's next
many
for you?
topics.
I know. I'm like, I don't know. I just think you're just so cool. Like,
Thank you. But
because here's why. Let
Okay.
me just say,
Go ahead.
here's why. Because I feel like you're doing something that is giving a megaphone to people and issues that have had the megaphone snatched out of their hands. And in my opinion, my humble opinion, you are providing a megaphone back to them. You're like handing them the megaphone and saying, like, speak it.
Yes.
And that to me is so cool. So
Yes.
I'm fangirling a little bit because I think that what you do
Thank
is
you.
very inspiring.
Thank
So
you.
what is next for you?
So, I always say, when I talk about anything, I say we, because I really think about this being a team effort, because I know it's not going to take, like, it is so much work to do a podcast. It's so much to try to do marketing and the Facebook, social media stuff alone to try to keep up with, and just the back ends of it. Like, again, I'm not a podcaster. I've just, like, taken on this role, and I'm trying to learn how to be better. But I just really want to be more engaged. Like I do, like I said, I'm a mother of 2 little ones. And one thing I really want to be is present in the community. Because I hate when people are like, I'm for the community. And I love the title as community advocate, but I also know that I don't want to be just another one of those people who's taking from the community, but not there in the community.
Yes.
So my time is limited because I do have little ones, but I try to get out here. That's one thing I started is the community shout outs, where I'm trying to be present in the community.
That's
and
where
really-
you're going, like, on site to events or to different things and being present, hearing from people.
listening to them, opening up the space for them to talk if they want to, but just showing up, because that's nothing. Showing up and being present, it goes a long way in these communities.
Showing up for anybody
Anybody.
is the most important thing. Showing up to your friends when they've got something going on. Showing up. I heard this from several of my coworkers and my friends and my colleagues that when everything was happening last summer, it's sure post about it or whatever, but like show up, ask me how I'm doing, not just the day that another Black man is killed,
That
but
part.
the day after and the day after and the day after. Like show
Especially when the lights and the cameras and all of that is not there.
Go away.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
right.
That's when they want you the most, to know that you're authentic about it. And so I'm trying to find a space to really be able to push that, and do that more. Just so I just want to get the authentic community voices on my platform. I love having the organizations, and I love, because I feel like it's a mixture of all. We definitely need to keep having these tables of round tables where we're talking to everybody, but I definitely want to go to the people that's been impacted and get their voices and uplift them.
I mean, I appreciated being able to come on to your podcast to talk specifically about an issue that is so critical to my organization's mission, Black men dying at disproportionate rates from opiate overdoses and overdoses in general.
Right.
And I was so grateful to be able to go on your podcast because I know darn good and well that people who listen to your podcast are probably not people that would normally like follow us on Instagram. Like,
And that's
a generalization.
Yes.
And I think we might have gained some new followers, is what I'm trying to say.
Really?
You know, like
Well,
I
I'm
think it was
hoping-
just a nice intersection, and together we can kind of amplify each other's work.
Yeah, I agree, and that's another reason I love having organizations on, is because I'm trying to provide resources. So if these are great organizations that's providing solutions to the things that's impacting the community, and when I say community, I want to be specific. I do focus in on urban community, and so if they have some things that's impacting the community, the community can listen to my podcast and they can be like, oh, I'm dealing with that.
Yes.
Let me go tap into this. Let me see if they can help me. Or there might be someone who's not dealing with that issue, but they want to support in some way in that type of space. So how can I support? How can the community support you? How can they rally around you? Because that's another thing I want to uplift is I tell my people all the time, hey, if the resources is out there, go utilize them. Because if you don't utilize them, they lose the funding and they disappear.
And then they go away.
Yeah, and then so we really don't have them. So if they're here, tap in, use them, tell people about them because we need them. So that's another thing.
I hear your point about wanting to still be present in the community because I hear this from a lot of my colleagues of color, which is if you are going to go into community, you need to stay in community. You cannot be another provider or another person that goes in and when the money's gone, you go swoop out.
Yeah.
Right. And that breeds distrust and it breeds being completely
angry,
yes,
abandonment.
Yes,
all of that.
So if you're going to lean in, don't
you gotta
stay
solid. Yeah, you have to stand solid. You can't just be in there when it's good for your organization or it's good for your as we say, you can't be in there for the clout because the community gonna see right past
I'm gonna have to take that saying.
You cannot be there for the clout. The community is gonna see right past you and they're gonna be like, yeah, you ain't real. You ain't about it. And then that again, it creates a distrust for other people who's really trying to come in the community and really be there. So then we have to like knock down walls to get to the people because they're buried in protection of I don't want to get hurt again.
They've put all of their walls up to say
y'all
nope,
ain't coming to do nothing.
Not doing it again. Yep.
Right. I hear that a lot. They ain't coming out here to do nothing. They only here because the camera's here. I've heard that so much. Girl, they ain't really about this.
And you understand why, right? And like I rationally understand it. It breaks my heart because I think to myself like we need to undo this cycle and the only way that you can undo it is to keep showing up.
Yep.
Just keep showing up.
And being transparent.
That's right.
People say, why do you always talk about being a mother? Because I want them to know, like, I'm limited on time, so I can't always show up. Because I do have other responsibilities. I'm transparent about that. If you can't show up, be transparent
about the why.
I can't come. I can't come right now, but I got you. Don't think I don't. You know?
I'm here in spirit.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Be transparent. If you can't do that, then just stay away.
Well, so I don't want to stay away from you. And let's say people are listening to this and they're like, I want to know where to find her podcast. So where do you find the Hood Talks podcast?
We are on all the major podcast sites. We're on Apple, Google, Spotify, iHeartRadio, YouTube. We do visuals.
And what if somebody wants to like be on your show or buy some merch?
So we do have a website also where you can learn about us. And it's www.thehoodtalks with the
That's
S.
with a D.
Yes. D-A. The Hood. D-A. That's right. D-A. thehoodtalks@gmail.com is our email, but thehoodtalks.com is our website. So www.thehoodtalks.com is the website, and at Gmail is our Gmail. So.
And y'all, she's got some great merch.
Yes.
She customizes it.
I customize it. So you can get pretty much whatever you want to say at the bottom as long as it kind of fits in our category of, community in some sense. But yeah, I really do. I take time to kind of customize the shirts. And yeah, I just want people to know that the Hood Talks podcast is really here to be engaged with the community and support the community and provide resources to the community and educate, because we're going to have conversations that you might not know about, but you can learn something. We did financial literacy. That's important. Yeah. That's something important to talk about.
Yes,
and we talked about it with people who work in the field of like insurance, but they also were relatable to the Black experience. So we could talk about that. So yeah. Check out the Hood Talks podcast. We did allyship.
Yes.
And I had an all-white panel that were on there to talk about their experience in being allies. It was an interesting segment.
I'm sure it was. I'm sure it was.
It was an interesting segment, but it was a good segment.
If you are interested in learning more about the Hood Talks podcast, if you are interested in hearing more of these awesome conversations with Shavanna and other folks just doing amazing work in community, elevating community voice, creating change where they live, please consider subscribing, liking, reviewing the Preventable podcast. Thank you so much, my friend.
Thanks for joining us at The Preventable, brought to you ad-free by Prevent+Ed. Prevent+Ed works to reduce or prevent the harms of alcohol and other drug use through education, intervention, and advocacy. Please visit their website at prevented.org. Like what you heard? Rate, review, and subscribe to stay up to date with what we are serving on The Preventable.